This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, and you can email the show via, and here is our email address, frank@absoluteradio, or one word, all lowercase. Remember, people used to say that all the time. .co.uk. There you go. All that stuff.
Yeah.
I've had. It was my birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday for yesterday.
Thank you. I had a splendid day with lots of love.
It's been marked by Ruth Jordan, one of our readers. I do hope Frank enjoyed...
The morning sun shone down upon the eyes of Ruth Jordan.
Well...
Okay.
Ruth says...
Is that an actual song?
There's Lucy Jordan in the thing, but it's near enough for me.
I do hope Frank enjoyed his birthday. Last year we learnt that he shares it with... Do you remember, Frank? It's a saint.
Well, it's... yes, it is St. Thomas Aquinas.
Very good.
Yes.
What I like is Ruth says he shares it with St. Thomas Aquinas, of course. When you say of course, it's also a year since Frank was an on-air doula and helped bring my nephew Jack into the world.
Oh, God, I remember that, yeah.
Sadly, they didn't name him Shane too. Thanks, Frank. And she sent you a little emoji with some kisses on it.
Oh, lovely. You know, these new emoji things... They're catching on, aren't they?
Do you know the gritted teeth emoji?
I don't know that I do.
The one that's like somebody said something wrongly.
Okay.
So it's like a face showing some teeth. I used it yesterday when my wife had a root canal done. Is that wrong?
I think that's a good one.
It's quite a literal use of the emoji.
Yeah. I don't know if I should have sent... my auntie had arthritis. I sent her the fingers crossed.
Can I tell you...
Can I say there's nothing funny about arthritis? And don't write to me. I apologise. It's a terrible thing.
Apparently, guys, I've discovered... You know what we must never do? Apparently, it's a real boomer move. Yes, that is the language of my niece. Wow. To send the raised thumb emoji in response to something. So to say, see you at 5, it's a real boomer move to send a raised thumb emoji.
Up. Well, you know, a paparazzi once said to me, don't stick your thumb up, Frank. He said, we never use a thumbs up unless it's Paul McCartney. Interesting inside information. Oh, I've had some gifts, actually. I mean, I got some lovely gifts yesterday from my family. The highlight of which, I think, was a book called Trees in Anglo-Saxon England by Della Hook. Wow. Which, I know that sounds ironic, but I will read. I've already started reading it. It's like an academic piece on where there were trees, what they were used for, and also their mystical uses.
Is Della from the Hook family? Is she Captain Hook?
No, she's got an E on the end. Della, I believe, is housed in Birmingham Red Brick University, as opposed to the one I went to, which was a polytechnic, and now is City of Birmingham University, I think it's now called. But, so Joe Rockos wrote to me. Now, Joe Rockos said, I sent you a few books a couple of years ago. The one you liked was the Jake Thackeray lyrics one. I am a big fan of Jake Thackeray. Gathering rosebuds of our own. Anyway, and it says, you mentioned me on your podcast and asked if I was related to Cleo Rockos. Well, yes, I am her sister-in-law. Cleo is still as funny and beautiful as she was with Kenny Everett.
Can I say that is absolutely true? I had a dinner with Cleo Rockos.
Oh, yeah.
At the home of hairdresser Charles Worthington.
Ah.
A few years ago, but...
I don't know that celebrity.
Wow. She'd started a tequila brand which didn't give you a hangover.
Ah. God, thank God she didn't start that 30 years ago, so I wouldn't be here now. I'd be in the ground. In the ground. Yes. Well, I've got to tell you something about Joe Rockos. We should come back to the dinner with Cleo. You'll be able to carry on, Cleo, afterwards. Yes. She sent me a Bob Ross sticker. You know, Bob Ross, who does The Joy of Painting, is that what it's called? A Bob Ross sticker, but unfortunately, she's clipped it on with a paper clip, which has scarred Bob's head. In the post. It looks like Bob Ross was delivered by Von Toos. But I still like the sticker for all his scarring. I'll forgive him that.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Oh, Frank just said, I'm going to give some insight. Am I allowed to share this, Frank?
Well, I can't remember what I said, but let's go for it.
Let's go for it. Sometimes Frank has some interesting views on things. And discuss this, Al. I've gone off Peter Sellers.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll tell you why I've gone off Peter Sellers, because he visited, I'm now using the Beatles Get Back documentary as a sort of guide to life. And Peter Sellers, I think I established last week that John Lennon was clearly a massive fan of the Goons.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were visited in the studio by Peter Sellers. And, oh, man, I just wanted to slap him. It's like he's with the Beatles and he looks really bored, sitting with the Beatles, recording music.
Have you seen it? It's just one of the most excruciatingly awkward moments.
Oh, get out, Sellers.
I haven't seen
That's
it.
the sequel to Get Back.
Yeah,
Get
exactly.
Out.
Get out. Honestly. So I've gone off him.
Okay.
And he's a genius. So listen. Oh yes, I also had. This is a good. I had a card with a selection of different cheeses on it from Mrs. Beaton's cookbook.
Oh, are you still friends with her?
No, yeah. Richard sent me this, and he also sent me, I can hardly tell you how pleased I was to receive this. He has sent me a Spectrum Pursuit vehicle, which is, we were discussing Captain Scarlet, and did he sit backwards or forwards in a Spectrum Pursuit? He's clearly sitting facing backwards in this. It also, it does speak. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but this is some of its things.
The Spectrum jet has crashed.
The Spectrum jet has crashed. Delivered quite deadpan. I mean, I'd have thought that was big news.
I can see
I
them.
find...
Come on, let's go.
Can I just do the last one out, because this is my favourite?
Yeah.
I'm in the SPV and I'm on my way.
Oh, that one I like. The Spectrum jet has crashed made me worry a little.
Yes, it's. I think it's old news. This looks like a vintage toy.
I've just noticed you pointed out last week the Faye, who's our assistant producer, had on a tank top in a sort of orangey, burnt orange colour, and you compared it to Captain Scarlet.
Well, she had a black long sleeve thing under it. It looked exactly like the Spectrum uniform. So if you were Colonel White, you wore a white gilet, and if you were Captain Scarlet, obviously the scarlet, and so on. And Captain Black he had like matching black and black on it. You know when you wear a T-shirt over anything with long black sleeve, I find it impossible to do that without thinking chimpanzee. From all the days in my youth when people used to put chimpanzees in T-shirts for entertainment, the long black arms hanging beneath.
And Frank, I've told you this before. What is T-shirt over shirt? Anyone?
I don't know.
Oh.
Tory MP at a jumble sale.
Oh, of course. That's a charity T-shirt, though, isn't it? That they're forced. Often with like the tie on and everything underneath. Yeah, it's a good cause, of course.
Yeah.
We're not disputing that. So I had a brilliant birthday, and thank you for various cards, things. Lovely.
Okay.
So, hold on. I'm just going to start a new thing. The producer was up like a whippet.
Yeah.
To stop me. God, it sounds a brutal business.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Me and Emily, Al, we went on the town last week after the show.
Yeah.
Did you?
We did.
Emily took me for lunch. This is a birthday treat. For lunch, and then I had a sort of fancy fish and chips, black and cod.
You had. I thought he's changed.
Yes, and then we went to see The Shark is Broken.
Yes.
Oh, I was only talking about this very production to somebody last night.
Well, it's very. Frank, you explain what it is, really.
Okay, I want to do it in song form. The shark is broken like an animatronic dolphin. No, it's a play about the making of the film Jaws.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the remarkable thing about it is that it's written or co-written by
Ian Shaw, who's
Shaw.
an old university friend of mine.
And Ian Shaw is the son of Robert Shaw and looks exactly like him who starred in the film. So he's playing his dad, and it's always very odd to see him in that cap and everything. Exactly like him. But it was great. We loved it.
We loved it. And we went back afterwards to see him. We went back.
You went
didn't
back?
We met outside the stage door.
We did.
And he came out, and he was charming.
I shook his hand. I think outdoor handshaking is allowed on the
and
plan
some selfie people got a strange 2-for-1, Frank,
Oh,
with you and Shaw.
I was worried that those people, and there was a few off, there was a great bit where someone said to me, "Can I have your autograph? Have you got a pen?" And I just pointed at this enormous stationery shop which was right next to the place. Now, I think those people thought that I went from stage door to stage door on a Saturday just getting attention. Some tragic, almost like a Phantom of the Opera type figure who went around hoping to cash in on someone else's success.
Either that, or we said maybe they thought, and as himself, Frank Skinner.
Exactly. It was,
Frank wanted to get a job as the shark.
I had to tell him. Well, I was an animatronic parrot once, you may recall, in a sitcom pilot. I played. You can guess why I got this job. It was called Jasper Parrot. So it had like a Birmingham accent, and I had to sit in an enormous harness thing on a throne and operate the parrot. It was tremendous fun.
sounds fun.
But we never saw the shark, as you can.
What about those kids we had sitting next to us? Oh, they were a nightmare, Frank.
Well, I couldn't hear them. They were
You're-
on my bad side.
Ow, I've discovered something extraordinary. Frank is much more tolerant than me.
No, I couldn't hear them.
Or waxier is what I'm
Exactly.
guessing.
That is also possible. There was a bit, though, where Emily said to me, "Oh, God, these kids, will they ever shut up?" Because there was a bit when the lights went down, one of them went, "Why is it going dark?" Anyway, they were just, it was inappropriate. I think the mom made a mistake. It wasn't really suited for kids.
It was clearly, they had all sweet bags with them. I think she thought it was a sort of like something to do with the shark song or something. It was a kid's play.
But I did say to Emily, well, if you make theatre about cinema, you're likely to get a cinema audience instead of a theatre audience. And she said, "Oh, my God, it's like being out with my dad." Which I took as a tremendous compliment, actually.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So, it was good. I like a making of.
Yeah.
I got to Get Back by the Beatles. The Shark is Broken. What's your favourite making of? 8, 12, 15. What about that for a link?
That's a text in.
There'll be some crackers. Do you think that Robert Shaw, that's a case of nominative determinism? This idea that your name can lead you, have an effect on your life and what you do with your life, like Gary Player becoming a golfer. Mm-hmm. Robert Shaw is in one of the great sea-based films of all time.
This is true.
Do you think that?
Oh.
As in Shaw? Yeah.
Oh, got you.
I'm wondering if that could be relevant. It's like, remember that picture of Peter Stringfellow in a thong?
I mean, that's some gear change.
But that was nominative determinism.
Talking
surely.
about one of the greatest actors. And now you've got
Peter Stringfellow.
I have a soft spot for Peter Stringfellow. I've said this many times, that when he said on telly, when asked what he found to talk to his 18-year-old wife about, he said, well, this is my advantage, you see, I'm very shallow. So, and I always loved him for that. I mean, we knew, but for him to just come out with it.
I felt like I was at Stringfellows for part of the evening because there was a lady next to me, I can say this, who was bending down and she was wearing leopard print leggings. And you've got to be careful.
Yeah, I have no comment on this.
I'm just saying it was a lot.
Well, anyway.
We've had a text in about The Shark is Broken.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's 577. I saw The Shark is Broken the other week and was blown away by Ian Shaw. Also loved the songs playing before the play started, which I realised were all from the year Jaws was filmed. Haven't heard Billy Don't Be a Hero for years. That's Tracy in Boreham Wood. That's a level of attention to detail I wouldn't have picked up on.
No, I did. We did notice that.
It was,
Sugar Baby Love by the Rubettes.
It was one of the first times I could sit there and say, Frank, what's this? And he could answer every single one.
Yes, it
was impressive.
Sugar Baby Love was incredible. I was saying that people have a gimmick in the music business. You didn't have to. The bar wasn't very high then for gimmicks. Their gimmick was they wore white caps. I mean, it's not a massive thing, is it? But everyone was talking about it. Considering what you have to do now. Because I felt a certain connection as well with the production, because I once interviewed Richard Dreyfuss, who was also in Jaws. And he was on my chat show, as was, plugging the producers, which he was about to open in the West End.
I think we need to say Dreyfuss, don't we?
Isn't it?
I think it is.
Oh, well, it'll always be Dreyfuss. I think I called him Dreyfuss on the night. Is it Dreyfuss?
You might be right. I thought it was Dreyfuss.
You know what I mean.
But who cares? Come on.
Anyway, importantly, on the night, he said, look, don't come. I just want to say to anyone watching, don't come to the show for the first 6 weeks because it's nowhere near ready. And when I went back into the green room after that, the PR woman was in tears that had come with him. She was so upset by it. And in the film he's something of a loose cannon, so in the play rather, so that fitted the Dreyfuss, let's call the whole thing Richard. Didn't really work, did it? Do that again, Paul. Okay.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
On the subject of the outdoor handshake and all that, I realised this week there aren't many people left now who I hog outside my immediate family. But my chiropodist is one of them. As I left him this week, we hogged, and I thought, why do we still do that? Why did we ever do it, me and the chiropodist? But it feels right. I suppose it's an intimate act in many ways.
As a male chiropodist.
He's male, yeah.
What sort of...
Oh, God, I wouldn't hug the female.
It is odd, because it's sort of a working relationship. It feels a bit like if you told us that you ran your fingers through the hair of the window cleaner.
Well, if only we had a window cleaner. We've decided to go frosted.
Oh.
Yeah.
The thing about, if it was a woman, I definitely wouldn't. Do you remember if I may mention our previous producer, Daisy? She told me off once. She said you got the most unpleasant hog, and it's like a sandwich board. If I hug a woman, I can go for the shoulders, but then I have to have complete separation from the rest of the body, because there are some men who, when they go into a hug with a woman, there's an opportunist thing which I find very unpleasant. Yeah. You can almost hear Marty McCutcheon going through their brain saying, "This is my moment."
Yeah, I don't like it.
Or maybe, of course, Andrew Lloyd Webber's Eurovision song, My time, it's my time. Oh, no, I don't like that. Oh, Daisy, by the way, former producer, told me, you know, we had these things about food things that are like sausage and beans, and there's no sausage in it and stuff like that. Food accidents that you complain about. She was telling me that she'd bought a Kit Kat that had no biscuit element, that it was solid chocolate. I said, that you shouldn't have ate that. That's like
that's amazing.
That's a museum piece.
I'd be so happy if I got that.
But would you be happy?
Why wouldn't you?
Well, then, if I'd wanted that, I would have bought a
Galaxy.
Do you know what? I think I do secretly want that when I buy a Kit Kat.
See, the biscuit is just a ruse.
It's a compromise purchase.
You're absolutely right.
What about when I got makeup on Daisy's white top once?
How did you do that?
Just by kissing her hello.
Oh, okay.
Because it was resting the foundation. It does happen, you see. Normally, the social contract dictates. I've seen it many a time. I've seen gentlemen wipe it off a suit, an expensive white shirt. They don't say anything. Not Daisy. She said, "You've got makeup on my white top."
Oh,
And so I said, I don't think it was me. I think it was you. She said, "No, it's you." I said, "It was you. It was you."
Oh dear, I'm glad. Again,
that went on for 4 hours.
I'm glad
Do you know I bought her a new one?
Did you?
Yes.
Wow, worth remembering.
Yeah.
Good use of "Do you know" there. I liked "Do you know."
I think you might have got a bit of makeup on my Lexus. Well, I've heard some names. Now listen. Something that occurred to me during The Shark is Broken, by the way, and I feel I might have mentioned this before, but a long time ago. Has the intermission disappeared in films? Because there's no interval in the play. But films are getting longer and longer. Does the intermission still exist, where you get a little break and people have? Because it was a great money spinner. I don't know if you've ever done a gig anywhere else. The moment you tell them that you're not doing an interval, they become very irate. Because obviously it's... Anyone recently experienced a cinema intermission? We'd love to hear from you. And not like
Anyone
1968. Yeah, not like Cheyenne Autumn in 1969.
Wow.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. Text the show on 8 12 15 for goodness sake. Stop being so tight. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio. Email the show via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk.
Bob Gel's off in the middle of Live Aid.
Exactly.
It's nice to hear the potential texters being admonished the same way I am so often in real life. Stop being so tight.
We were very tight. I heard George Harrison. I've gone Beatles. I'll tell you what's happened.
Do you know he's Beatles mad?
It's that Kath had no interest in the Beatles, and we watched that thing, and now we're watching the anthology now. There's no stopping her. Yeah. So it's like discovering it through someone else. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Haven't you got a mother or a father? That's actually the Ravens in... or vultures in Jungle Book, not the Beatles.
I find that very sad, that film.
Do you? I
find a lot of children's films very sad.
I find
there's a darkness in me.
Some tremendous irresponsibility of the adult animals in the play, like the bear Baloo that takes Mowgli to dangerous places.
Yeah,
I know.
Come on, guys.
Well.
Come on now.
It's about building up his resilience, though, isn't it, by the time you get to the end? Spoilers.
Yeah,
here we go, the old Spartan correspondent.
That's like, letting the kid touch the electric fire, as an interesting life lesson.
Yeah.
Do people still have electric fires?
I don't think so.
No.
And what was the other one?
Too many cats perished.
The other one was, the classic, the life lesson chair, I would say, was throw them in the deep end of the pool.
Yeah.
Oh yes! Oh God, that was a big one. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get thrown in the deep end?
No, I got. Our Keith tipped water over me in the paddling pool in the garden. I've been frightened of water ever since. Thanks for that, Keith.
I got thrown in the deep end at the house, inevitably as a showbiz link, at the house of Robert Morley.
Did you really?
Are you familiar with his work?
Of course, yeah, Robert Morley, father of Sheridan.
Yes.
Yes, Robert Morley was one of those actors you don't really get anymore.
No, he was very... And Hugo Morley, who is Robert's son,
Yeah.
whose godfather rather brilliantly said, yes, my godfather, Noel Coward. Threw me in the deep end. There you go.
Did you swim?
Wow.
No, I cried.
And
I got scooped out.
Oh, okay.
Crying isn't really in the options. It's usually sink or swim.
Yeah.
People say you sink or swim.
Well,
There's never sink or swim or
I
cry.
cried, I just screamed and then I cried when I emerged.
Crying underwater is wasted
Pointless.
effort indeed.
Anyway, let's brighten things up with some of the texts we've received about intermissions in cinema.
Do they
That's the
still
texting.
exist?
They do. 914 has texted. In 2015, I think, it was my wife and I went to watch Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight. It had an intermission at the hour-and-a-half mark. You should have seen my wife's face. She went from being so happy because she thought the film had finished to shock and disbelief that she had to sit through the same again in Act 2. It was a dull film, admittedly, and that's from
God.
Tom.
Oh, dear.
Is he one of the great filmmakers?
I haven't seen it.
I had a quite a big argument with him on Late Night with Wogan
Did you?
about violence in films. Yeah.
What did you say to him?
He said that Reservoir Dogs was very realistic violence. And I said, no, it isn't at all realistic. It's the opposite of realistic. Because real violence
Yeah.
has this ongoing thing that affects the family, it affects the person afterwards, it affects the rest of their lives. I said, you haven't even given them proper names. What, Mr. Pink? Oh, yeah, that's it. I can really empathise with Mr. Pink and Mr. Green. And, he got quite... he was all right. We made friends in the end. But, yeah, we had a proper row about it. Anyway, that's me and Tarantino.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think we better break on that.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We've had this in from Emeton Guna. Oh, be a nice friend for me.
Yeah.
Cinema intervals are most definitely a thing here in Switzerland.
Oh, okay.
It's also at, we said it was Basel, not Basel, didn't we, Frank? I can't remember. Anyway.
I think it is
Is
Basel.
it Basel
Is
or
it? Oh, I
Basel?
thought it was Basel.
No, maybe it's Basel. Anyway.
Let's call
Let's
the
call
whole
the whole
thing.
thing off.
Let's call
Yeah.
the whole thing Zurich.
Remember being shocked first time as I hadn't seen one in the UK for so long.
Yes.
15 years later, and at the latest, the Bond film is still going strong. It seems to be a cigarette break for the smokers.
Oh, I see. Is that still a big thing in Switzerland?
Oh, yeah.
You set your watch by it.
Yeah. Excellent.
Also, Iona Faz, the old...
Do you? Where do you park it?
The old West Side Story DVD had an intermission featured on it. When I went...
Is it on the DVD?
Cool.
When I went to see it, quite controlling. I mean,
It
I bought
is.
this DVD. I'll make the decision.
I've got pause. Thanks very much. What I would say
I've
is
got pause.
when I watch a film at home, I almost never watch it all in one night.
Really?
Yeah, too long. It's too long. It's a bit too long. So yeah, I'll watch a film over 4 or 5 nights.
I find that really old.
No,
Yeah.
45 minutes is enough of almost any film.
God, I could never ever.
Really? Why not?
I think it's awful.
Oh, why?
Oh, you two were getting on so well with your
know.
theatre trip.
I
I
don't
know.
know. Do you know what? Each to their own.
Vive la différence.
Yeah.
I just feel, you know, I see you as a very disciplined character. It's one of the qualities
Well, that
I
is
admire
quite
most in
disciplined.
you. Is it?
Well, Kath always says to me, I don't know how you can take a bar of chocolate out of the fridge, eat 2 squares and then put
Yeah.
it back in. And it's the same thing with the film. I just have 2 squares. I don't want to gorge myself on a whole film.
Okay. I'm quite a gorger. Al, what
You're
else?
gorgeous.
Oh.
I think I'm back here now.
I think so.
Al, what else? We've had some other missives in.
Well, 350 has texted. I went to see one of the new Star Wars films a few years ago in Dover, and they had an intermission where they served cups of tea in actual mugs through a hole in the wall at the side of the room. That was the first
Very
intermission
Peter
I've
Wingott.
experienced in the cinema since I was a child.
I have never. I mean, that sounds. Is there a war on there? That's unbelievable.
What else are they
Tea in
serving?
the interval.
Powdered egg.
Sounds great.
You know, people's women sitting with blankets around them waiting for news. Wow. I tell you, I'd be very keen. When I was a young man, we'd go to the cinema, like we'd go somewhere and say, shall we go to the cinema? And we'd just go to the cinema. We wouldn't look at any listings or anything.
Really?
So we'd go to the cinema and go in and maybe watch the last 40 minutes of a film and then stay and watch the first hour.
Really?
And then go and put two and two together.
And
So
now
what-
you're the person who chunks films into 45 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we
Al,
can
this is
see
what-
how that was.
Yeah, I watch them in order though now.
Yeah.
So I'd watch the ending and then sit and watch the beginning. It's an interesting mental exercise.
I think Al's right. I think that's really defined your viewing habits.
Yeah.
Those early experiences.
I think it's defined my life. I find now I can look
Yeah.
backward or forwards and still be able to construct a narrative. Little tip there for the youngsters listening.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Tom Sawyer, by the way, has just got in touch.
Tom
Sorry, Al.
Sawyer, okay.
Yeah.
Tom
Has he
Sawyer.
finished that fence yet?
I don't know, but they look very frayed, the bottom of his jeans.
Oh, him and Hock Finn.
Who-
The turn-ups are somewhere in the swamp.
I mean, they
They're
really do sit in the serrated edge chair. Good morning, all. A belated happy birthday to Frank. Cinema intermissions. Walton Cinema in Liverpool still has them.
Oh, good.
It's an old picture house with just one screen. Well, is it somebody's home, essentially? The lady also still stands at the front with a tray of ice creams and sweets.
Brilliant. What you want is one of those cubicles on the way in. You know, those easy to get your tickets. Fantastic. It sounds lovely. I like those old picture houses,
So do I.
what we used to call them.
On the subject of cinema, I'd like to bring your attention to a news story from Manchester, where I live this week, which is that it's Juicy Street Warehouse Complex, according to the news article, are doing cinema offerings for dogs. What do you think of that? they're apparently now there's an appetite for this. It's not enough to give your dog a walk and some treats. Apparently you take it to the cinema, and they're saying in the article that people can take their dogs along to watch Lassie and Hotel for Dogs and the original Scooby-Doo.
Wow.
So they've adapted. I've seen this. I know a lot about these dog screenings, Frank.
Oh, okay.
They adapt the cinema for dogs, essentially.
Right.
So
It's tiled. It's completely tiled, the floor.
That's what I was wondering.
How does that bit work?
I don't want to be vulgar, but I feel sorry for the people that clean up the cinema after I take my children there. But if I took my whippet,
I know. I feel a lot better about popcorn on the carpet if...
it'd need an industrial hygiene check after.
apparently it's kind lighting, which my dog really appreciates. He's
Kind
quite vain.
lighting, okay.
No, it's to do with because they don't like it too bright, the dogs. But then equally they get frightened if it's too dark.
Okay.
Okay?
You see, that worries me, because I read the fact that it isn't as dark as a normal cinema. And I went to see Master and Commander. You know that film?
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe. I went to see that on Brighton Beach.
How was it?
It was still obviously, it was in the summer because it has to be warm enough to sit on Brighton Beach. But in the summer, it doesn't get dark till about 9:30. So a lot of it was peering, thinking you could just about see the picture. You know when you have... you know when you get a T-shirt done at somewhere like Pronto Print, then you wash it a couple of times, and there's a fabulous sort of mystical, faded glory to the face. That's what you just couldn't see hardly.
Oh, it's the laptop on holiday syndrome. We've all been there.
Well, yes. And the trouble is, then you get the same tan line as the Teletubbies. Nobody wants that.
Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
So the dog cinema, they get free. Do they get treats? I think they get. And I don't like that so much when they give products sort of cutesy dog names like Paw Corn.
Popcorn.
Well, I've been sent Paw Secco for Ray before.
For Prosecco. The dogs don't eat. They don't drink alcohol, do they, dogs?
No. Well,
But it's-
I think we had a dog who drank beer, but
What?
only to my old man's enormous distress.
Well, I was once interviewing the TV presenter Anita Rani, and we encountered a gentleman on our dog walk in the park, and his dog ran over him as being quite sort of over the top, and he said, sorry about him, he's a bit hungover. And I don't think that's very good.
Oh, I don't know what to make of that. Imagine the two of them, maybe the dog in full clothing, sitting at night drinking. Awful.
It makes me feel quite square that my dog's gluten-free. She's not even having...
Is she really? Okay. Is that a health thing or a...
Yeah. She's one of those people.
Yeah.
She's the sort of person that says, "Is this bread gluten-free?" and looks at it.
Well, my dog, I can't. The films that they suggest, like Scooby-Doo, Lassie. We the other night, me, Kath, and Buzz was watching Racing Post Greyhound TV.
Oh.
Were you?
I don't know if you know that channel, but it's just greyhound racing all night. The dog was going absolutely ballistic. I mean, barking to the point where we had to switch it off.
Really?
Buzz was nearly wetting himself laughing when he said, "Why do they run? What makes them run?" And I said, "Well, if a hare goes past on a monorail," and he was killing himself laughing, and then a hare went past on a monorail, and then that made him even. But the dog. So, if we took our dog, it would have to be a film that was canine free because.
Really?
Yeah, she just barks. She barks at. There was a polar bear on. She went absolutely ballistic. And the only human being is. Who's the lady who's the leader of the SNP? Nicola Sturgeon. Yeah, she barks at Nicola Sturgeon. I don't know why. She seems a perfectly nice woman.
Well, you see, Raymond
You
isn't.
think so?
She's a unionist, the dog.
Raymond has never barked, as you know.
Never barked.
No, he doesn't bark.
Wow.
That's like never a crossword, isn't it? Me and Raymond.
good to have a rule.
It is, yeah. Good rule for a dog. Barking, not me.
I'm slightly ashamed of it. People say, "Why? What's wrong with him? Why doesn't he bark?" But he just never has.
It's like the Harpo Marx approach to life.
Does he play piano? It's oh, that's the other one. That was Chico. He played the harp. Obviously, Harpo. The clue was in there. Yeah.
You
couldn't have a dog playing a harp. That'd be unreasonable.
I asked Graham Hall, who Frank and I.
The dog
both
father.
found, yeah, he's fabulous, and he seemed to think there's nothing. It's nothing to worry about. It's all right. He seemed to think I shouldn't worry about it.
I think it's a plus, to be honest.
Do you?
Yeah, it's a bit embarrassing. I mean, I make it sound comical that barking at the greyhound racing, but you do think, what do the neighbours think?
Right. You say that, but who's your favourite Marx brother?
Groucho.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Exactly, the big barker.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
But I don't really. The dog doesn't have much Groucho Marx characteristics.
It's not
about
whipping.
It's more of a shouting thing. It's sort of a Brian Blessed figure. And you can only live with that for so long. And if you have a volume switch.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
One thing that bothers me slightly about this article that we've been discussing about the dogs going to the cinema is that they say in the headline, "Shall we watch Star Paws or The Hound of Music?" Now, why have they changed? Why have they changed the titles of some other films when there are loads of films that include dogs? Like, why didn't they just say 101 Dalmatians or, Hound of the Baskervilles?
Well,
or
these people,
Cats?
they have to justify their earnings by coming up with puns for headlines, to be fair.
But they're rubbish.
No, they are rubbish.
They
I
could
mean,
have much
when it
better.
comes to our standard.
Yeah, we would have been in there with much better. What about Citizen Canine?
I mean,
Very
that's
good.
Absolutely, yes. I
That's
don't think
really
we're even
good.
going to. I think me and Al should leave that as done. That's a job done.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
what
not
my
going
dog
near
said
it.
when he went to the cinema.
Yeah, exactly. I tell you what I learnt recently about dogs. So, I was under the impression that dogs only saw in black and white.
Yes, I always hear that. Is that an urban myth that they're colourblind?
Well, it always troubled me because of the old paintings of them playing pool.
Yeah. Very
But
difficult.
apparently they can also see blue and yellow as well as that.
right?
So they would,
So they're okay on snooker.
Wolverine, they'd love.
What they like. And the Britney Spears Toxic video.
Oh.
Well, I believe the flight attendant's uniform.
Oh,
I believe
yes.
it's a blue and yellow.
I think Banana Man is blue and yellow as well, if you
He is,
recall him.
yeah.
Yes, I do.
Eric.
That's a great track, Toxic. Oh, man.
I think
It is.
co-written by Kathy Dennis.
Was it really?
There you go.
It's used in the second episode of the revived Doctor Who, I think, at the
Oh, there we
the
go.
end of the
Yeah.
world.
Here we go.
Yeah,
that's what I
have
always
to ruin
think about
everything,
it.
don't they?
Yeah. It's great, though. Britney, then, she was great.
Well, I bet they ruin it, though, because they have some man coming in a strange monster costume saying, "Perimeter eliminated."
There was quite a lot of it was alien heavy, that particular episode. There was the wooden people. And then there was the
Wooden
woman who was
people.
just they looked
Well, they
like
sound scary.
They looked
What?
like trees. And then there was oh God, what was her name? She something like Castrovalva, but that's a different. And
I mean, to be fair, sci-fi.
she looked like
quite
a
often.
trampoline. There's
Oh,
a
did she?
woman who looked like a trampoline, but she was human skin stretched out.
Are you joking?
I suppose they had to counterbalance the wooden people.
Well,
So
exactly. She had
it's
to
the
be.
other end of the
She had to
spectrum,
be
isn't it?
moistened regularly, lest
Yeah.
she should split.
Can I just say the wooden people, Al? How much thought did they give that?
Well,
Well,
I
they
think
look
it's a
great.
bit harsh on the actors, personally, but
Yeah, exactly. Haven't they had enough reviews like that? Someone will send in. It's going to annoy me now. What's her name's Madam Cassandra. That's what she's called. The stretch.
Oh, based on the Greek. We've discussed
yeah.
this before, Cassandra. I've
yes.
told you about Cassandra. Mm-hmm. You can spend the next break reminding yourself
Okay, I've forgotten about Cassandra.
that was her fate. Was to always know
Become
what
a
was going
trampoline.
no, what was going to happen in the future.
Oh, is that a fate? Well, that's not what we say on Racing Post Greyhound TV.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. Those days are gone of doing your time, etc. I'm with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio. Email the show via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk.
The producer just came over to me and I quite liked it, Frank. It was
Yeah.
like we were in an office workplace. She came over in quite a proprietorial way and was pointing at her pen because I had her pen. She wanted her pen back.
I don't know. No respect.
I quite liked it.
Gotta no respect, as I think the
I
song
quite
used to
enjoyed
say.
it.
yeah.
Can I...
By the way, we were just getting nostalgic about cigarette lighters. Can you believe that? And I was on about when people used to have these lighters that were connected to like 25 pounds of onyx. Massive chunky, geologically based cigarette lighters that people had. What happened to those? If anyone's got one of those, do let us know. I'd love to know that they're still out there. They haven't been broken up for landfill.
They were very much part of the businessman's toys collection.
Were they?
Along with, do you remember the balls?
Oh,
yes.
yeah, the Newton's Cradle.
Lovely. I knew you knew the name for them, Frank. Can I just share some outside world with you? Do you remember I mentioned Kathy Dennis and the song Toxic, being a co-writer?
Yes.
906 has texted in, claiming, I say claiming because we have to leave this, who knows, but claiming that Kathy Dennis wrote Toxic, allegedly, I think that's enough, claiming and allegedly, about her relationship with supervet Noel Fitzpatrick.
Really?
That's from KB and Bangor. Now, we neither confirm or deny, we don't know. I do know supervet, he's a charming man. Whether this is true or not, I don't know, but can I just say, I wouldn't mind having that song written about me.
Well, I don't know what I don't really know the lyrics of it.
Well, Toxic's a bit of a clue. I mean, that clue's in the title.
It could have been, about that time I put some fake tropical fish in with someone's real tropical fish as a joke, and then all the fish died. It could have been about that. What would you say was the most famous? Of course, you know what that song's about.
Oh, I got it in one.
Go on.
You're so vain.
You're so vain. And it was
Warren Beatty.
Oh man, everybody went on and on. Of course, it's Warren Beatty, I think we said Beatty.
I thought it was about me.
You're so vain, not you, Al. Oh, of course. I bet you think this song is about you.
And Taylor Swift wrote a few about Harry, I believe, didn't she?
Did she? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We'll think of some more.
Did she write that? I wish I could fly right up to the sky, but I can't. And then Harry's video producer comes in. You can, Harry.
The Styles lad, as you call him.
Yeah, Stylesy.
We've also had a text in from 564 about the wooden people.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry I can't remember their species name.
Oh, I'm not. The wooden people, perhaps the finest example of that'll do.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work. This is from Pete, who's waterproofing in Kent.
Oh, I thought he was going to tell us the character name or something. There was quite an attractive wooden woman. Not something you say every day.
Your unlikely crush list. That's topped it.
Yeah. One of my unlikely crushes was Ray from Star Wars, but not the real one, the Lego one that was in Hanley's.
Another unlikely crush, Al, was a woman getting out of a bath.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, can I say...
The senior people.
That sounds saucier than it is, but she was doing it through a door.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Thora Hird?
No, it wasn't. It was a very attractive woman. It was, of more my age group. Not a bad thing.
No.
Do they operate like a lock in a canal system, the walk-in baths? That's what I would like
your
to know.
pin-ups have changed. You like
Takes
women
an hour and a half.
Yeah, exactly. You have to stand there with like a tiny bit of water around your feet while the levels come up. There's a man who stands at the gate who turns it around in a small shed. I mean, you need a big bathroom.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
819. Have you seen this, Al?
Let me have a look. I was on an email.
Oh, I do.
No,
listen. You go ahead with your email.
Like to show the innards?
No.
Let's do 819 and then we'll go to the email that I've got
okay.
ready to
819, morning, Frank and team. Never mind the Onyx cigarette lighters. What about those ashtrays on stands with the push mechanism, which used to spin around and dispose of the ash in the receptacle below, circa 1960s, 1970s? Do you remember those? I wonder if there's any of those still knocking around.
Well,
that's from Anne.
I think if you want to become a collector of something, ashtrays is probably not a bad place to start.
Gross. What a gross hobby that would be, though.
But we were talking about. Now I was saying that 2 doors open for the cigarette end in those ashtrays on a stand, and you suggested that they spun round. It looks like you got it right, Emily Dean.
I think there were 2 types, though. There was the sort of Venus fly. There was it was sort of. It whizzed around, and then there was another mechanism which was a bit more sophisticated.
I think obviously smoking is very bad for you, and anyone listening, I want to make that clear that we think that. But there used to be some fabulous paraphernalia that came with it, and I remember my brother's feeling of sophistication when he bought a packet of what they call Sobranis. And they were called cocktail cigarettes, and they came in various pastel shades. So there was like 3 or 4 colours in the same box, and there was a pink and a blue, and it was, oh yes, we were all standing in Smethwick outside the baths saying, oh, what about this for a cocktail cigarette? Yes. I wonder if you can still get those babies. Anyway, bad for you. Don't do it. That's the message, kids. If you're listening.
We've had other correspondence, Al, haven't we?
We have. In one of Frank's crowd-pleasing text-ins, he's asked, what's the best making-of documentary you've ever seen?
Oh, yeah.
and there's an email. I think this... Occasionally we move out of comedy on this show and into what I like to think of as just interestingness.
That's all right. I think both are acceptable on radio.
Yes, but what's that thing Frank often quotes? Was it a friend of yours who said it's not called the Edinburgh Interesting Festival?
Sarah Millican said that.
Wonderful Sarah Millican, which I love.
Yes.
Well, this is interesting. Joss has emailed, hey guys, the best making-of documentary is the one that accompanies the film Russian Ark. This is a 90-minute film shot in one single unbroken take. It's a journey through Russian history and was filmed in the Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg with a cast of hundreds. The museum could only be closed for one day to accommodate the filming, so there were huge pressures for it to be done on time. But if there were any mistakes, filming had to restart. It's a fascinating behind-the-scenes account of an extraordinary film. That's nice, isn't it?
That sounds incredible. All had to be done in one shot.
It sounds tense.
And man.
Then it says, praise redacted. Will the Sue Gray report say parties redacted? I think it's very possible.
Well, we'll see. Sue Gray.
Steve Burgess as well has, just quickly, making of West Side Story. Leonard Bernstein pretty much telling Jose Carreras he's not very good. Lots of Frank Butcher-style pinching of the top of his nose. Oh, it's one of my favourite documentaries ever. I'm going to send you a link.
I'd like to see that.
It's full of Jose? I'm basing it on Mourinho, but he says a lot, Maestro, please.
I have
it's quite distressing at times.
A memory of someone on the phone arguing about money with, and is it something like the making of Apocalypse Now or something like that?
Oh, that sounds good.
And a terrible gut-wrenching difficult phone call that you're so happy you're not part of, it just raises you up.
Yeah.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Can we return to one of my favourite districts? I'm calling it Previously.
Ah, yes. This is when people refer to things that happened in previous shows, giving a fabulous continuity and operating, I think, like in Mussorgsky's pictures at an exhibition.
Lovely.
There is a continuing theme that goes in between each picture.
Lovely.
It works.
We need to have a jingle, really. What about Jethro Tull, Living in the Past?
A bit like Mussorgsky's pictures at an exhibition, continuous theme. What about that?
Have you got something a bit less obvious?
Okay, then. It's going to have to be.
Oh, I'm a gummy bear.
Love it.
Al, do you want to kick off? Because we've had the Ain't theme is proving very popular with the previous
Yeah, we were talking
community.
about celebrities who you think say ain't, as in I ain't quibbling with that kind of ain't. And then there's all sorts of celebrity ain'ts have been
Examples
appearing.
are Pete Waterman,
Yeah.
who's
Yes.
You ain't never going to be a pop idol.
Alexander Armstrong.
I ain't walking through a cornfield with my collar turned up, album trailer or no album trailer.
I believe what he actually said
sorry.
was...
No, he said he was doing Golden Brown, was it, on his album, and he said Strangler's Light, it ain't.
That's right.
Yeah.
We've actually, I know we're in the previously, Doc, but if I could return us to current, we've had a text today from 955 who said, after listening intently for several weeks to readers' nominations for the Ain't Chair, I've been both frustrated and surprised that no one has mentioned B.A. Baracus from the A-Team, I ain't getting on no plane, fool.
Oh, yeah.
I just thought that was too obvious. That everybody knows BA saying I ain't getting on the plane, fool.
I didn't mention it because I slept on traffic roundabouts for much of the time that the A-Team was on television. Early Saturday evening was a tricky one for
I
me.
feel with BA...
Didn't exist for you.
No.
The ain't feels less self-conscious in a way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I feel with these... For example, Hi Skinner and the Gang, I've listened since episode 1. Always podcast, never live.
Okay.
But I had to message today. I think we should trail this because it's a good one.
Okay.
As a few weeks back, you were discussing the word ain't. And now, in the past week, look what we've seen.
Okay, and we'll leave it there. And then we'll find out the ain't alerts. Ain't alerts would be good because you wouldn't be sure if they were alerts.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
I left us on tenterhooks, or Neil did rather, one of our loyal listeners who's been listening. He said, since episode 1.
Goodness, I haven't been listening since then.
I ain't either.
Huh?
And now...
Yeah, fickle, he ain't.
There are different types of ain't, and can I say you very much adopt the Pete Waterman?
Yeah, I mean, it's that. I mean, people are. I think we've gone on to sort of accidentally because our readers have taken it this way. People just saying ain't, but there is. I was started with a specific ain't, and it is.
Yeah.
It is Strangler's Light. It ain't. It's using it ironically. Yeah. But never mind.
And now, as Neil says, in this past week, we've seen 2 high-profile ain'ts.
Have we really?
Firstly, Adele. Did you hear Adele saying ain't this week, Frank?
What is it to do with her lack of preparation for Vegas?
She says the show ain't ready.
Yeah, there you go.
And AJ, our friend who we met at the Wimbledon, Anthony Joshua.
Oh yeah.
He said, I'm hearing people saying AJ accepts 15 million to step aside. I ain't signed no contract. I ain't seen no contract. He wrote this on I don't know if he wrote it on anyway, that's and as Neil points out, they're bringing it back in the same way that Timberlake brought Sexy back. A very strong showing from that campaign this week.
High profile people
As Neil says, we ain't heard the last of it.
No, I imagine not. No, obsolete. It ain't.
No.
I think we can safely say, oh, this show ain't ready.
Yeah. How often have we said that?
I mean, I can't
7:58
tell
on
you.
a Saturday morning.
We just go on, don't we?
I have done many,
Stop us out.
many shows that ain't ready. You know, my thing is, if you've booked it, it's
Do it.
it's going to be as ready as it is at the time of you having to go.
Isn't she complaining that there's some kind of swimming pool problem? Is that right?
First world problems.
What is the swimming pool problem?
I think she's got a swimming pool in the show that she didn't think was right. But
show?
I saw Tim Key at the Edinburgh Festival, and he had a bath on stage.
I remember that show.
that was just at the Edinburgh Festival. You'd think if he can do that in Edinburgh, you could get a swimming pool in Vegas.
I would not go swimming pool. Has she not seen Sing? They get a big pool on stage and it completely engulfs the theatre and destroys the whole show.
I think another reason for it is there was an outbreak of verrucas in the crew.
Yeah, well,
in the
that's
swimming pool.
They spread like wildfire. It's true. Yes.
I love the swimming pool problem.
Isolated. They ain't.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
21st of January 2022, we heard from Jim. This is previously, but I'm going to use it as a bridge into currently, because we have been talking about dogs and colour blindness. And Jim said, listening to last week's show, I was delighted to hear that Alan is colourblind.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
As a sufferer of the condition myself.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I thought he was just being
You just
cruel.
didn't like Al.
We don't normally read those texts.
It's an interesting piece of unpleasantness, isn't it? Very happy to hear about his colour blindness. Anyway, bye.
Jim continues. I think Jim is something of an Alan fan, in fairness. The reason I ask is that my wife of over 30 years does not accept this as a real thing.
Yeah.
In a similar way to Frank's views on fainting and Alan's belief that average speed cameras are a placebo.
Yeah.
Other than this, she has a beautiful soul. But she claims...
What colour is it? No good asking you.
She claims I just couldn't be bothered to learn my colours. I hope Alan's autobiography is going well. Best wishes, Jim.
Couldn't be bothered to learn. Of course, none of us can be certain that we see the same colours as others.
So it's not...
That's my theory. I have the same theory as that, basically. That I do see colours, but the labels are a bit different in my head, and I don't think they're as bright as everybody else's.
What does it
I don't
exclude?
mean the labels, I mean my head.
What does it exclude you from, Al? Is it the police that you're not allowed to?
I think I'm excluded from a lot of things.
Can't be a pilot.
Can't be a pilot.
Okay.
It's quite I think it might be quite tricky to be an electrician, although I'm excluded from that by the fact that I can't really do manual labour very well at all. And I sometimes...
There'd be a ramp of difficulty and then you'd get there.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can't see what colours are on the snooker table if I've ever played proper snooker. Like I occasionally look at the reds and browns and see them as the same. Not easy.
Yeah, all right. Anyway,
Don't want to be giving away points at the Crucible, do I?
I wish I'd got some slow piano music.
What was me? Although I like the sound of his wife. She sounds quite formidable, doesn't she?
I love the
Just
wife.
saying, I don't believe you.
I literally don't believe you.
No, but that's how it gets, isn't it? When you're with someone a long time.
What about 081, Al? Did you see this? The Kit Kat with no wafer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember
I was talking about. Yeah, Daisy had one. Solid chocolate Kit Kat.
pure chocolate? We had some
listen to
correspondence.
this.
Have you seen this, Al?
Yeah.
Over to you.
My friend had a Kit Kat with no wafer. She complained to Rowntree's, who made Kit Kat at the time, and they sent her a huge box of Kit Kats as an apology.
I love that. They're my favourite stories of the retail world, when people complain and then get a big box of something.
I love it.
It continues. Jim doing his tax return in Sheffield. There's a lot to unpack
That's
there,
a last
isn't there?
minute, Lil.
Yeah. It's,
I mean, come on, Jim.
I wish they'd just sent her wafers.
Tax return ain't ready.
His tax return ain't ready. It's got to be in on Monday. Hurry up, Jim.
What if they sent her some wafers and a screwdriver and say, just do your own?
Do you know what?
Do you remember when I complained that the Bozzy's Iron Man mask hadn't got any elastic on it, and they sent me...
So petty. I was so embarrassed when you did that.
They sent me a £5 voucher to buy some elastic and a link to some elastic. I mean...
It's a chocolate question. Why is it called Ritter Sport? I mean, why is it sporty, the chocolate? It's not sporty.
I suppose it gives you that energy boost you need when it goes into stoppage time. Anyway, episode 4 of my poetry podcast will be out on Wednesday. Walt Whitman, I think it is. Oh,
my
man,
favourite.
I love Walt Whitman.
I can't wait.
A great champion of the not too tight footwear.
Great beard as well.
Oh, brilliant beard. And it grew as his career grew. Anyway, catch up on the first 3 now from wherever you get your podcasts. They're all out there. Thank you so much for listening to this show as well. And you know what? If the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Now get out.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.